Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Table of Geeks. Today we're talking about Jose's bread and butter, the X-Men, because Jose loves to bread on some butter and butter on some bread.
I really just thought you were going to go for the low-hanging fruit of Jose just likes men.
I mean, I should have went there, but listen, I kind of like stopped that train of thought. I was gonna say because he loves Wolverine's ass, but I mean, I kind of changed my mind.
Who doesn't, though?
Well, I like movie Wolverine's ass.
As a comic book Wolverine kind of has like really wide hips and has issues walking.
I mean, he's only 5'3" in the comic books.
That's an inch shorter than me.
Like, I'm sorry, like I'm short, so no, like whoever I'm with has to be taller than
You're
me.
not 5'4".
Yes, I am. I'm 5'4".
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
You were shorter than that.
Do you want to go get my ID, Allie? It says I'm 5'4".
You know that your ID doesn't need to be updated unless there's a change of 6 inches.
Giggity.
You're short.
Also, everybody, Allie's high as balls, if you can't tell, because she thought today was Wednesday, even though she literally uploaded her video on Wicked Encounters today, 3 hours
she got
ago.
the Wicked Encounters down, okay?
Hi,
There it is.
everybody.
No, just hi, Allie.
Hi.
Hi. So, like Coot said, we are true believers. We are talking about the X-Men. I am a huge fan of the X-Men franchise. Storm is my favorite. She's the best.
Isn't she a goddess?
Yeah. Depends on who's writing her. Depends on the author. Sometimes they say that she's godlike levels and she can ascend to godhood. Some say that she is. It really depends on who's writing her. Just like whoever is drawing her, she has an afro, she has flowing hair, she has a mohawk. Yeah. But anyway, so I want to know, like, I mean, we all know that I'm obsessed with the X-Men. Oh my God, Allie.
You said it depends on who's writing her, but it sounded like you said who's riding her.
And we lasted exactly 3 minutes.
Are you making fun of my accent?
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm almost afraid to ask, but what is your exposure to the X-Men? Oh my God, I said exposure in front of Allie. What is your experience with the X-Men? Have you watched the animated series when you were younger? Did you like the movies? Like what? So just so I know where you guys are at with the X-Men. Emma?
Oh, we're starting with
Say
me
that tism,
already.
Sam, just...
I know next to nothing about the X-Men. That's not true. I know insofar as that Wanda Maximoff and Pietro are supposedly X-Men, or not supposedly, they are. And they're Magneto's kids, I think. Also, that Magneto is daddy, and we actually love him, and he's actually like, apparently, I actually saw a TikTok about this today, that he's either like, the writers have a really hard time about writing him specifically because a lot of the times he's just like, right? And it's very hard to portray him as a villain. And then the other half of the time they're like, no, he actually just wants to kill everyone who's not a mutant. And it's like a complete...
That's because
like,
Marvel does really good villains.
Yeah, they do. And then, let's see, what else do I know about X-Men? Oh, that Rogue's the one with the white strips.
Strips.
She's hot. I like her. She kills everyone she touches, right?
Doesn't kill them, but she hurts them by absorbing their energy, their memories, their powers by skin-to-skin contact.
Oh, the trauma is built in. It writes itself. We love her. And then John Grey, because she's Phoenix bad bitch. And she's a goddess.
Did you say John Grey?
Jean Grey.
In my defense, I did learn it by reading it.
There was a series where it took place in the past, like all the modern heroes were born in the 1800s, and Jean Grey had to pretend to be a man, so she was going by John Grey in that one. So not entirely inaccurate.
Okay, listen, don't be giving Emma qualifications for missing Jean Grey as John Grey.
It's canon. It's in print. So alternate reality, but still. All right, Coots, what about you?
I know a decent amount about X-Men. They're probably, out of all the things in Marvel, probably my favorite thing. I love Cyclops. I love Wolverine, obviously, because Wolverine was Wolverine. Let's see. I love what's his fucking name? Is it Beast? What? Not Beast. Is it Beast? Guy that turns
The blue
blue.
guy.
Yeah,
But when you say blue guy, you have to be more specific. There's like half
the one that
team is blue.
transforms. The one that is a permanent beast. He ran for Congress. He's really
That's the
intelligent.
Beast.
Oh, that's
Okay.
Beast. Yeah, Hank McCoy. Yeah.
Fucking, and I also love Gambit, which just
Oh, give it.
they never.
No spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. I'm just saying,
I've
like,
seen it.
everything I've seen ever with Gambit, like, that's never been like they don't show Gambit properly. It's always like, what the fuck are you doing with Gambit?
How am I
That is
like the least X-Men person and I've seen Deadpool and Wolverine? I haven't even seen the second Deadpool movie. Like but I've seen this one.
I have a job that's overnight, and I have 2 children. I don't got time to go to the movies.
You do have babies, that is true.
So let's see about Allie.
So I learned about the X-Men through the animated series. I can't remember which one it was called, but it was like not the old cartoons. It's kind of had like the 90s dark aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And watching them, I always really liked Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler's awesome.
The cat girl. Isn't her actual name like Kitty? Yeah, Shadow Cat.
Yeah, Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, and my favorite character was actually Mystique. And like,
Good choice.
as the series went on, they had an episode where you realize that at least in the animated series universe, that Mystique was Nightcrawler's mother. And I really liked how they handled that, because it seemed like such a really serious moment that then was carried from episode to episode and built upon it a story so that you learned more about what was going on. And I'm also pretty sure that Mystique was one of the first characters that made me realize that I was bisexual, not in the regards that I knew what sex was, but that before there were girls where I was just like, oh yeah, they're really pretty. And then for her, it was like, oh yeah, she's really pretty, but in the I kind of want to kiss you kind of way. So yeah, I really enjoyed the animated series. You know, when it came to like the live action movies, they were fine. They were okay, but I didn't like how they were different from what I was used to, because when I was younger, I didn't realize there were like alternate, you know, dimensions as far as like universes go between like, you know, live action, animated, and then this other thing's animated.
The
like,
thing is too, like with the movies, they
you
very
know?
much tried to black and white it. They didn't try to do what X-Men is, where it's not black and white; it's all shades of gray.
Yeah.
Like Magneto,
Yes.
who we love. He was
We
so
do.
hot in that movie. Sorry, I interrupted.
Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Same with Xavier too, dude. I'll take old, young. You know what? Honestly, with both of them, they can run a train. Like,
James McAvoy and fucking what's his name?
Michael Fassbender. Oh, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart. Thank you.
sir.
Well, I actually did enjoy the animated series that Ali was talking about, just but from the clues or the characters that she liked, is X-Men Evolution. And I didn't like it at first.
that one.
Yeah, I didn't like it at first, but I've been rewatching it on Disney Plus, and I'm liking it. I got exposed to the X-Men through the animated series of the '90s, which had its comeback earlier this year with X-Men '97, with Jennifer Hale as Jean Grey, and I fell in love with the character Storm, and then I kind of became a fanatic. Started reading the comic books and collect action figures, watch the live action movies, play the video games. I was just obsessed and still am to this day. It meant a lot to me, being a person of color and being LGBT, and the fact that the X-Men are, metaphors for minorities in this world and how they are treated and being feared and hated for existing was a really big deal. Now, obviously, back then, I didn't know that I was gay, but I did know that I was different in different ways. Like, all kids are different. Some are a little bit more nerdy, some are athletic, and there's all these cliques in high school, middle school. That no matter what you do, in some way, shape, or form, you're gonna feel like you don't belong.
Some are hyper focused on dinosaurs and just had that extreme hyper focus and watched Jurassic Park every day for 2 years because they just want to know more about the Dilophosaurus.
Hey, are you talking about yourself?
Yes. I hyper focused dinosaurs. That was my fucking hyper focus when I was young.
That was his mutant power.
I can still tell you that the Pachycephalosaurus is my favorite animal.
I don't. Okay. So if you guys did have a mutant power, what mutant power would you love to have, and what mutant power would you hate to have?
Oh, fuck.
Coots, you spoke first, so you go first.
I hate you.
No, you don't. Give me nothing.
Actually, probably take Quicksilver as a power I'd want. It's because, like...
Fast one?
Yeah. Be fast. My spine wouldn't be as deteriorated as it is now if I was that quick. That or it would be turned to
Imagine
dust.
all the editing you can do.
I know.
It'd be deteriorated
All these
faster.
videos be done like that.
You'd be like, want to see me edit this video? Want to see me do it again?
Oh, I would use that SpongeBob meme all the time. Want to see me run out of that crock? Want to see me do it again? Probably the one I would hate the most, even though I love this character, is probably the Juggernaut.
Oh, okay. So now this, why would you hate that?
Because basically he's, if I remember correctly, he's stuck like that. Correct?
Ish. He was empowered by a demon through a crystal, the Sidorak, and he's not a mutant. He's mystically empowered. He did lose those powers, and then he kind of got them back. And right now, he's currently a member of the X-Men and the new run. But I have no idea if he's still empowered by the gem or if he found another power source. I don't remember. But it's not so much a punishment because I don't think the demon is involved anymore. Okay. But back
because
then,
what I saw was that was the 90s stuff. Like that's when I was watching it. So.
Yeah. I can get that. Because if he try to go away from the demon, it'll cost him dearly.
Yeah. So, it's that like yin and yang kind of thing, like the balance between you have this, but if you do this, I'll take it from you kind of thing. That's just always kind of me.
So before I ask Ali and Emma theirs, I just want to say something that because people, when it comes to like big properties, if they see it online, they're like, "Oh, they got that wrong." I just want to say that there are a lot of retcons that happen in the comic books. Like they say, "Okay, now this was this way, but now it's this way." You guys both mentioned Quicksilver, and Emma mentioned Scarlet Witch as well. They did originate in the X-Men comics, and they were mutants, and they were in the Brotherhood of Mutants before they knew Magneto was their daddy. And then they found out he was their daddy, but now it turns out he's not. So they're not, and also because what happened is that Disney and Marvel didn't have the rights to the X-Men. Fox did, and this is before the merger. So when they added Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, they didn't mention them as being mutants because they couldn't.
Yeah.
So they changed them to not being mutants. And the comic books, they changed them from being mutants so they can fit in with their movie counterparts, which pissed me off. The comic book should not, like the movie should not influence the comic books.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't. Like they're Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are like two of like the like very long lasting part of that too, like a very main staple of X-Men like lore and franchise and everything like that. And the fact they changed it. Go ahead, what are you say?
Well, they started off in the X-Men comic books. This is true, but they actually are more associated with the Avengers, which is why I understand that they wanted them on that team in the movies because they were Avengers a lot more. And by the way, those two were never members of the X-Men in the main universe.
I'm more saying like just with evolved of like when you think of Quicksilver, my immediate thought goes to X-Men. Same with Scarlet Witch. Like this immediately goes to that.
Yeah, because that's where they had their beginnings. You know, that's they were created for that comic. And Quicksilver has not been an X-Man in the main universe, but he has been in other X teams like X Factor and stuff like that. Oh, then his sister has. But and then there was something else I forgot that I was going to mention, but it's not important. So Emma, what mutant power would you love to have and hate to have?
I want to be Scarlet Witch. I want to have. I don't care that she's broken and busted as fuck. That's me. I want to have that. I want. I want to have that.
Emma wants to be broken.
I want to if I want to fucking shift cosmos, dude, and multiverses and universes, and I want to be like feared for the level of power, and then I want to use it for good. That's what I want to do.
Look at you.
Because like that would be cool, right? Like, I mean, it would be sad. The trauma would be built in, right? Like, I'm so powerful, people are terrified of me, but I use it to help people. But then it's like that Spider-Man situation, you know, where like you just try to help people, but they're like they don't really. I mean, they do want your help, but at the same time, they kind of like curse your name a little bit. It'd be great. I'd make for a great superhero story.
Well, altering reality to help this person affect those people in a negative way. There's, you got to be careful with that power.
Exactly.
And what power would you hate to have?
I'd hate to be a speedster. I'm not coming after you. I swear to God, it's just so boring. Like, I'd hate to be so fast. I mean, it's interesting, like super speed. You know, if I
the next time you want your laundry done quickly, it's never gonna happen.
Hey, fun fact though, you put the clothes in the machine, you still have to wait an hour and a half for the machine to get finished. Like your super speed
not if I tumble dry it myself, motherfucker.
You just grab the drum and start doing this number, like. I don't look. If I had super speed, I would be thankful. It would be. Oh, he's messing with his mic. I would be thankful though. I would be like, oh, I get a superpower. That's cool. But if I got to pick and I got super speed, I'd be like, the fuck is this? I mean, I guess I can get off in 3 seconds now. Like, woo.
You start on time if you had super speed.
No, but like really though, I could get out of that fucking traffic on the way home.
Oh, so there's benefits to it, Emma.
No. Cosmic world-shaking power.
I'd be scared because like, you also know that you probably would have people trying to manipulate you and use your power for their own benefit. Basically being a woman. Having your power used by other people to get what they want.
You see, I'd be scared because I know I'd be sitting in my computer room just like getting ready for D&D, and Emma would just appear through a fucking void, being like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm gonna be a little bit late." Like, oh, okay.
I would do that too.
Hold on. I just thought of something. If Emma did have that freaking power, and we had a campaign for D&D going, and she's like, "Do you want to see what would be like if this was all real?"
True.
I could make Alkefis, dude. I could just poof Alkefis. We are in age-appropriate clothing.
Your favorite city I ever made, Alkefis.
That's what I do.
And Allie, how about you? What power would you love to have and hate to have?
I'd probably love to have, honestly, just Mystique's power, just because she doesn't age. She can change her form to literally whatever without difficulty. She is, I believe she is listed as having superior strength compared to like the average human. Yes. So, yeah, I thought so. So just like that in general, I think would be an awesome power to have, because it's almost like in a philosophical sense, like you're not a specific thing. You can't fall into a specific category. You are like capable of becoming any and all things. And that's almost comparable to like a god in a way. Like you can't control the universe where you're just this entity. But I don't know. But just like that idea is really neat to me. Being able to just exist is the closest thing to like energy that's sentient. And then I think the worst power would be, there's a dude that I can't remember if it's in The Boys, Deadpool, or X-Men, but his power was he could throw up acid, and
X-Men,
then
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah, and then he like burns a hole through his own esophagus, like just. Bleh. So yeah,
I think
no.
they have that in The Boys too.
I
I
think so,
think
but
so.
yeah. There was a character, he was in a comic book called X-Force, which is not X-Men, but it's still one of the X comics. And he discovered his power by accidentally vomiting on his girlfriend and killing her.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Isn't that similar to how like Rogue figured out her power?
She was kissing a boy when her power manifested. It was her first kiss ever. Cody. His name was Cody. Yeah.
Is he dead?
He didn't die. He was in a coma, but he died afterwards because, well, but yeah, it was tragic. So her power literally manifested as trauma. So I think
I want to take mine back real quick. I'm sorry. I want to take back
go ahead.
like not the Juggernaut. I want to take it back and say the power I would not want to have at all would be Colossus's power.
Why?
Is he the Iron guy?
So not Colossus. I'm sorry, Cyclops. Cyclops. I mean Colossus.
Oh,
Cyclops.
Cyclops?
Yeah. Because I want to be like, oh, let's look at the wonderful view. Oh, it has killed people.
Somebody told me his eyes were portals. Can we confirm?
That was excuse me. That was a theory that was in the comics. So that was accurate at one time, but it has since been retconned that it's not it. Or is it? Was it the other way around? Because it used to be that he used to absorb solar energy and convert it into the optic blast. Then it was, I believe, they said that his eyes were portals to this dimension of pure energy, which is where they fire from. I don't know which one is currently correct. I will admit to that. The comic books change so often, and it's so hard to kind of keep track of what's going on. Like, we just had a major event happen, and now we're at this new restart. It's confusing. But at one point, I do know that was in the comics as fact. So look at the one that says she doesn't know anything about X-Men is over here shooting all these facts.
Thanks.
So
I have
maybe
autism. I have to absorb it naturally.
With the power of Tism, we can achieve all.
Well, yeah. My son would agree with you. I think the worst power. I'm gonna do my worst one first. I think the worst power that I would have would be telepathy. For someone like me, because in the comic books, it's always depicted that you can't always filter every thought. Some thoughts are gonna go through whether you want to or not. That would drive me crazy. I can barely handle my own thoughts, let alone everyone else's. But then I'm also a very insecure person, and I am man enough to admit that. And I always feel like people are like mad at me or whatever, and people are always saying, "You're just imagining. That's just your anxiety telling you that everyone's mad at you." But imagine being able to go into their mind and be like, "Oh, bitch, you do hate me." I would have a hard time resisting temptation to find out, like, is he really mad or is he not? Like, so I think telepathy would be the worst power for me to have, just because of temptation. And as far as the power that I would like to have, I had to agree with Ali. I think shapeshifting would be where I would want to go. Because Mystique is really, really awesome. Like, she's a really good shapeshifter. In fact, she turned into a man and was able to change her reproductive stuff to man's, like, to produce sperm. And her wife, Destiny, gave birth to Nightcrawler that way. She was the dad and Destiny was the mom. So that's pretty cool. That, so to have that level of shapeshifting would be cool. I don't know if I would become a woman and become pregnant because, ouch.
Allie would just do it to
Pregnancy's terrifying.
masturbate.
What was that?
Who? Me or Emma?
Either one.
Emma, you first.
Oh, I said because pregnancy's fucking terrifying.
I was gonna say because if Allie had that power, she would make it so she could finally masturbate.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I mean that'd be pretty interesting experience.
This is the most docile Allie I've ever seen, and I don't like it. I like hyper, like, making
Feral?
jokes 24. I like feral Allie.
I'm
I don't know. I
sorry.
kind of like Docile Ali. Ali. I almost said Ali. Like, what are you, Ali Ababa? I like Docile Ali. I like her a lot. She's
Boo.
like, it's like when you give a cat catnip. You know what I mean? Like they just.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty okay.
Yeah, sure.
It's neither good nor bad.
Your
It's pretty
real
okay.
Allie's real superpower when high. It's you cannot be fully committed to anything. It's alright, I guess. Maybe, who knows? I can carry the way.
I don't know if this is Allie because she's high, or is it Allie because she promised she wouldn't do anything lewd in this episode, and she's trying her best to be a good person. I don't know which one it is, but either
Maybe it's
way,
both. Maybe like she sedated her. Like she says, "Oh, I forgot," but like maybe she did it on purpose in an effort to like semi-sedate herself so that she wouldn't be lewd on the X-Men
No.
podcast.
maybe we shouldn't talk about Allie like she's not right here.
Oh God, is she here? Can she hear me?
I was gonna say,
don't know.
dang, bro, that's kind of mean and a
Oh,
little
no.
conspiratorial. All right.
Well, you know about conspiracies, don't you, Allie?
I
So-
mean, I can't stop you from thinking what you want. So
You could if you were a telepath, but would it be right?
I'm sorry.
Next Wicked Encounters episode is conspiracies about Allie.
I agree. I can make this happen. I'll just put Allie's voice through like that AI thing, like gathers all the words he says and just put them together. Like, hi, we're gonna go over my own conspiracies about myself.
I don't think I'd like that.
No.
So,
Oh, I
with
have a
the X-
question. Oh, I'm sorry.
yes.
There's an X-Men named Emma, isn't there? And she's a bitch, but she does ice.
Her name is Emma Frost, and
She
she's a
does ice.
character that she has her original power was just telepathy and nothing
Oh,
else.
what?
They introduced what's known as secondary mutations, where some mutants were developing a secondary power, and hers is the ability to turn herself into organic diamond.
I thought she had frost powers.
No,
I've hated her for years. What is
That's
organic
why-
diamond?
she's
It's
like
basically
that's why.
yeah.
I'm sorry. You can go on.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, in the one movie, she tries to turn into Diamond, and she does, but diamonds have that one weak point, and I think it's Mystique, and it's the chick's neck, and she hits it, and because of that, like, I think it was like she can't go back into her diamond form, or else she'll break. So she kind of like ruined her power because it's like she can never experience that side of her ever again without shattering. So yeah,
Yeah.
she was diamond.
That was X-Men 3, I think, or was it 2?
No, that was First Class.
First Class, okay.
Yeah, Magneto got the metal bed. They put it around her neck, and but that was just in the movie because in the comic book she was flat out shattered because of that weak point, and they put her back together and she was alive. That was just something that they did for the movie. Like, oh no, you can't turn back, or you'll die. I'm like, no. Emma Frost was a character that she's a no nonsense kind of person. She'll read you like worse than a drag queen would. She's rich. She has had enhancements, if you know what I mean. Plastic, and she's not.
She got big boobies.
She's not ashamed of it. You know, she's like, I said, yeah, I got plastic surgery, and what? You know, she is very much like, I don't know, like I just don't know how to describe her. She's just
Girl boss.
girl boss. Yes, perfect way to put her. And I didn't appreciate the character because she started off as a villain, and then when she joined the X-Men, she had an affair with Cyclops, and he cheated on Jean Grey with her.
That's not her
And-
fault.
What,
And
Jean
then,
Grey?
yep. And then when Jean Grey found out, because she went into their minds, because the affair wasn't in the physical world, it was in their minds. Jean Grey burst in telepathically, and she goes, "Let me guess, you can explain." And it was this whole thing. And then Jean Grey dies, and literally the panel goes to Cyclops and Emma Frost kissing each other on Jean Grey's grave.
What the fuck?
It-
What
yeah,
is
so
this?
To be
Yep.
fair,
And
Emma Frost wasn't the one that was married. So it's technically Cyclops' fault.
oh,
Oh,
yeah,
hang on.
definitely.
Hang on. Cyclops and Jean Grey were married?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still are.
Yeah.
You guys, you've ruined the character of Cyclops for me now. I had such pity for him. Never again.
Oh, do you want me to make you hate Cyclops even more?
Yes.
Okay. So Jean Grey was piloting a ship back from space. This is the Dark Phoenix saga. And the ship didn't have enough radiation shielding to protect the X-Men and the other passengers. So she telepathically took the flight training from the pilot, and the X-Men went into this chamber in the ship that did have enough protection. And she was going to pilot it and hope that her telekinesis was enough to protect her from the radiation. It was not. So she was dying, and she called out with her mind, and the Phoenix Force came to her, put her in a healing cocoon, took her form, took a part of her consciousness into her own, and ended up believing that she was the real Jean Grey. Anyway, things go crazy. She goes crazy. She kills herself to prevent herself from destroying the universe. And everyone thought that that was the real Jean Grey. So they mourned her. Cyclops mourned her. That was his girlfriend. He loved her. And then moves on, sort of, and then meets a woman who looks 100% like Jean Grey. Her name was Madeline Pryor. And turns out that she's a clone of Jean Grey, but she doesn't know this. So Cyclops marries this clone, Madeline, and has a kid with her, a son. Then the Fantastic Four, they find the cocoon that the real Jean Grey is in and take her out, and she's back, and everyone finds out she's alive. Cyclops leaves his wife and newborn son to be with Jean Grey. Under the cover of no, I'm not leaving to be with Jean Grey. We're forming the original X-Men are forming a new team called X Factor. That's why I'm here. But no, the entire time he was trying to get back with Jean Grey. Jean Grey found out that he was married with a kid, and she was like, no, you take care of that mess. We're not gonna do that. But Cyclops kept trying. He abandoned her before the baby was born. She had to give birth in the kitchen by herself while the X-Men were on a mission and her husband was trying to get with his ex.
Who looks exactly like her. I honestly
Yep.
don't know what's more messy, that he abandoned his wife for his ex, or the fact that he married a woman who was a clone of his wife, regardless of her personality, literally just based off of her physical appearance. Both of those are so messy. This is what we get from a fucking man who can't see, okay?
That's really messy, bro.
Yeah, that's basically it. Now he has done some things in the current timeline that kind of redeems it in some people's eyes, but some people won't let go of the past and be like, no, he's an asshole. But anyway, Emma Frost, I blamed her for the whole Jean Grey Cyclops breakup thing, and I hated her for so long. And then in the most recent special event that they had, Emma Frost was instrumental in the mutants surviving, and it kind of made me see her in a different light. And I only see her for the badass boss bitch that she is. But it took me a while to appreciate Emma Frost. But yeah, but she's cool. She's cool.
She got a great name.
Well, she's not. Her code name is the White Queen.
That's cool.
Well, because she was a member of the Hellfire Club, their highest members are named after chess pieces. So she was the White Queen.
Not gonna lie, that kind of makes me think of a matriarch version of the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and I think that's really messed up.
I mean, they were a messed up group, so.
I love you, Allie.
Is she racist?
Is she? No, I don't think so.
I hope not, because if she is, then she's seriously the matriarch of the Ku Klux Klan, and that's fucked up.
Well, she stopped really going by White Queen after she got with Cyclops.
What did she go by then? The Beheaded Queen?
I don't know why.
She went by
the slightly tanned queen.
Oh my god.
The Bloodied Queen.
Well, she was the Black Queen for a little while.
Oh no!
So we went from the double NAACP to the Ku Klux Klan.
they didn't want her to be the Black Queen because then you have a white woman playing what should be an African American role. You
Oprah
can't
gonna
do
be
that.
real mad.
That's real. Well, I think a lot of people would be mad, not just Oprah.
Now, speaking of that, the X-Men are, like I said earlier, a metaphor for minorities, people of color, people of different religions, races, sexual orientations, gender identity, yada yada yada. That the X-Men started off as a group of 5, 4 of which were male, and only one of them was a woman, and all of them were very, very white. But it has since evolved into this thing where, like, mutant rights can be compared to the, civil rights movement, the gay rights movement, women fighting for their rights. So a lot of people say that the X-Men are too woke right now, that they're too political, they're too woke. But the comic books have always been woke. It's always been a metaphor for the struggles of those who are in the minority.
It's always been pushing the bounds of what people have ideas of in the modern time.
Exactly.
It's also like people saying that Star Wars isn't supposed to be about government when the whole fucking point of Star Wars was about the Vietnam War.
Yeah, exactly. So my question for you guys is, do you feel like the X-Men have been around since the 60s and they've been pushing the same message since then? Do you think that it's gone on long enough that they should kind of just stick to like fancy battles with bad guys, or do you think that it's still important to this day for them to push for that equality, message? Anyone can jump in on that.
Well, I mean, the whole purpose of the X-Men is to find a group of people that are different and are working towards, like, not being better than people, not being worse than people, just being people. So the political aspect of X-Men is pretty much the point of the X-Men. And getting rid of it, you're completely changing the characters. It's like all of a sudden having Sherlock Holmes now take the part of the Terminator. Come with me if you want to live. Chip cheerio. So yeah, like, you can like the characters, but you can't take them from their story and then say it's the same
Yeah,
character.
I agree.
As you see, something else I always like is the fact of the X-Men. It's not only like, a lot of people go, oh, it's for homosexuality or racial equality. There's a lot more, like, look at the Blob, for instance. Like, it's a fat male, and it's not like being like, oh, look, haha, let's make fun of the fat guy. It's like, it was legitimately like, he has his purpose, like, with them. And like, that's the thing, like, I love about pretty much all X-Men, because it targets a wide demographic. A lot of people are still considered not the ideal normal standard of what they have to be, which is why I also love the X-Men, because if you look at it, every single time people's like, oh, X-Men are radical, and you look at it, now we're all like, no, this is normal. That's how it's still gonna be. That's what happens with society. We elevate our minds. Emma, go.
2 things. So, number
Mhm.
1, let me clarify. Number 1 is my bias. I am a sucker. I mean, I want to be an anthropologist because I love humans. And one of my favorite fucking things in any form of media, be it books, be it movies, be it TV shows, comics, whatever, it is this concept of people coming together, even in history, like people coming together for a united common purpose. Like even the fucking like the French Revolution, like the proletariat, banding together to have this uprising against the upper class that were oppressing them. It is human beings at their core finding that they are the same and banding together and working for a common cause. And that chef's kiss, love that shit.
Emma,
So
which French Revolution out of like the 160 they had?
the French Revolution, the one that had its
Goes the
final
historian.
the final guillotine the same year that the first Star Wars came out. That one. Um So that's my personal bias is things that preach a message of unity. I'm a sucker for. I love that
Mhm.
shit. I eat that shit up. I could give it to me. I'll eat it up. My second thing that I wanted to say is just on art in general. It's if I wanted like big old flashy battles. There's a million different ways I could get that. But the thing that draws people to art over and over again, and be that art, movies, comic books, TV shows, whatever, it's the meaning behind it. It's why the character does what they do, what they represent, what the themes are. And sometimes that comes across through music, and sometimes it comes across through what they're saying, and sometimes it comes across through what they stand for over a wider array of different characters and concepts and combats. And that's what you have with the X-Men is you have a bunch of different people with a bunch of different powers who all in the end kind of have this message of unity of like we're all one person and we've got to like help other people, and even though we're different, we're still people. And that's really, really pretty, and it's really, really nice.
Yeah, and even the X-Men themselves get it wrong sometimes. There's sometimes where they give into their anger because, they've been fighting for so long for equality and have a place in this world, and they get denied it. Like twice now, they've created their own nation. Like first it was Utopia, which is off of near Los Angeles, I believe, or San Francisco or whatever, somewhere in California. And they had an island nation that they made for themselves. And then recently we had the event called the Fall of Krakoa, where they had basically a living mutant island that they turned into a mutant nation, Krakoa, and it was recognized by the UN and everything, and it was a sovereign nation, and it just recently got all kaput. So they keep trying to like fit in with the rest of the world or create their own part of the world that they can just live in, and the humans just won't let them be at peace, and it's frustrating. And I get that because like being Latino, like I remember the last time that somebody that's running for president right now was running, he allowed people to be very open with their racism, and he was going after Latinos. And I remember I used to deal with homophobia all the time, but I never really dealt with racism directed at me, and until that year, until 2016. That's when I really started to experience racism. I've had people throw glass bottles at me. I've had people say build that wall while driving past me. I've had a veteran who I went to go ask if he needed help. He was at the store I was working at, and he tried to spit on me. I had another veteran at another store I worked at, and I was like, welcome to this store I work at. And he turns around and goes, I hope Trump wins and gets rid of you and your people.
I'm guessing
and
older veterans, not like my veterans.
oh yes, they were
Yeah,
older.
okay. So, because
Yeah.
we learned that we're all pieces of shit equally. That's like the first thing that's broken into your mind.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, my dad's a veteran, so like I always treated them with respect. So like for them to come around and say that to me, I'm like, damn. Like all I said was hello, and I said it in English. So I'm like, what the hell is your problem? And having to deal with that basically every day since then, has really made me tired, and having to explain it to people about what it feels like is I'm tired of having to explain it, and why I have become more political lately, and why I believe the things that I believe, and it's so frustrating. And so I can understand why the X-Men themselves will be frustrated. There are some characters that started off as good that turned to evil, like Beast. He lost his damn mind, and was basically gonna be like fuck all these humans and stuff. And I can understand. I mean, I would never go to that extreme, but I can understand being frustrated, the fight and the battles that happen, because it's exhausting. Just you're trying to exist. You're just trying to live. A lot of these mutants probably would have lived normal lives, as normal as a mutant can live, if it wasn't for the fact that there was all this hatred and genocide trying to be committed against them. The X-Men unfortunately were necessary. Um, but yeah, it's a comic book that really has always spoken to me, and I absolutely love it. And X-Men '97 came out recently, and if you guys haven't watched it, I recommend you watch it, even if you haven't really seen the original '90s cartoon. It is really good. If you like Gambit, you really should watch it. I won't say why, but
Is he naked?
yeah, he takes his shirt off a lot, but that's not why.
Oh,
Yeah, there's one time where he's like, "Oh, I think I can get this done." He takes off his shirt, and Rogue's like, "Knock it
Rogue,
off."
please. We're trying to view here.
Well, that's her man. She doesn't want you looking at him.
Oh, never mind. That's
um,
Rogue's man. I get it.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but anyway. So one thing I about representation. We spoke about that in a previous episode. But how do you guys feel about, because people say it's too woke? How do you feel about them changing characters, existing characters with existing history, and changing aspects about them to make them seem more? I don't know how to phrase this question. Let me give an example. Iceman has always been shown since the day he was created, dating women. He's dated quite a few women, including Mystique. And then he was revealed to be gay in the comic books. He's gay, and he says, "Yeah, I dated those women because I didn't feel like I could deal with being a mutant and being gay in this very hateful world. So yeah, I was trying to be straight." So they explain why
I
he
can't
was dating those
imagine
women.
a gay guy trying to date a woman. Like I just can't imagine it. I say to
Yeah,
Jose,
all
who
right.
dated my wife.
Look, I didn't want to be Latino and be gay in this hateful world. No, I'm kidding.
There you go. There's a connection. Well, I wonder if I actually bring up something you said earlier. It's like with me and Emma.
Yeah.
So Emma didn't know she was autistic for a while. I didn't know until this year. But we've known each other for what, 11 years now, Emma? And like we've always been best friends. And the people we used to hang out with were not very accepting people. And we were both bullied constantly, but we always maintained our friendship. Like we had a falling out over something stupid, but like it that's in like it's like
I wanted to be a witch, and they wanted to be Templars.
Yep.
And they kicked me out for
Yep.
it. And now I'm a real witch, so it's fine. Anyway, that's what it was. I just want to bitch about that real
And-
quick, but keep going.
it's like that's kind of like the thing of like we were always kind of outcasts of our old friend group because we were both the neurodivergents of our old friend group. But I think pretty sure now most of my friends are now neurodivergents, so we will get along a lot better. But yeah, the people who are the normal people were the ones that like just we could not get along with.
And what is normal, really? Like, I mean, yeah. But a lot of people were pissed off because they said you can't just change this character to fit a narrative because you want gay representation. You changed everything about him. Now, I feel like they did it in a way that because I mean, there's a lot of I've dated guys who have kids because they were with women before, not because they were trying to be deceitful or anything like that, but because that's what society wanted from them, and they were really trying their best to be straight men. But they couldn't do it, so that's happened in real life. But for someone who's not gay or doesn't know any gay people, they don't know that stuff actually happens. So for them, it just comes out of nowhere. So how do you feel about characters being changed for the sake of representation, or as people would say, to be woke? How do you feel about that? Like, I mean, if you can't think of any X-Men examples, you're not really following it. Like, in any franchise that you guys would like how do you feel about that?
So I I don't know, I'm kind of a very accepting person, especially when it comes to like characterization. So long as it makes sense, then I don't really see a problem with it. As long as the writing is strong enough to support it, then then the writing is strong enough to support it. It can stand on its own. So with this example that you've given specifically about a character who's canonically been, straight for so many decades and then comes out and now he's a gay man. Number one, my first thought is that's really cool. That's a character arc that you don't ever fucking see. Like if someone is presented in any kind of media, they're straight, I would say they're bi, but bi erasure is a thing. They're straight or they're gay, and that's really it. We've been getting some ace representation. I'll be honest, it's not a lot. We've been getting some. And it's so typically there's no like they don't show sexuality in media as the fluid fucking spectrum that it is. And so it's very interesting, with absolutely no knowledge of the situation that I have to hear that. My second thought about that is this is the same type of art medium where they have a universe where they're in the 1800s. So them changing little tiny things about characters to play around with them and see how they would work in this story as opposed to this story. I think that's incredibly interesting, and honestly, that sounds very true to form as comic books go,
Yeah.
All I
Allie,
gotta
do you have
say,
any-
no,
Oh,
sorry. All I gotta say is Emma, as an anthropologist, what X-Men does this thing where it's constantly evolving. Do we as humans do that?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like
What?
society and culture builds upon itself.
Are you
as time
telling me that
extends.
that Roman and Greek cultures were perfectly fine with being homosexual?
It was a little different, but for the most part, yes.
Yes.
I will say Julius Caesar was made fun of for being a bottom, not because he was gay, but because he was a bottom.
Yep.
And it was
it's
unmanly.
shameful. Yep.
Yeah.
I learned something new today.
Yes, Julius
My
Caesar
life
was
is
a bottom.
different now. And Ali, what about you? What do you think about changing characters just to quote unquote be woke or whatever, as people accuse the X-Men comics of doing?
I think it depends on the intent of the people who are doing it, because like I keep forgetting the article, but it was basically an article that said representation of the LGBT, because this was so long ago, it was just the LGBT in articles. And he was talking about like ways it's done. And one of the examples he gave, well, the main one that he gave was a character in Star Trek. You know, I'm too high to understand the correct way of wording this, but it was basically saying, is it a character that's gay, or is it a character who happens to be gay? So that's why, like, for me personally, I don't care how they make anyone look like whatever, but it really depends on the intent, and you can get a good idea of what the intent is from how they execute it, because a well executed version of having a character that has always been known as being one thing suddenly turning out to be something different, well, these characters need to be treated like people for the people who are writing about them and drawing them. Oh, it's a baby. Hi, baby. And they have to make them, be people. How would an actual person react if, they suddenly realize, oh my god, I am a dude and I like dudes? Like, how do you handle that? Because an interesting fact is a lot of people have that realization one day, and it's something that can be done. It can literally be, I'm blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that I'm gay. And,
I knew
that's
it.
why I said, like, the. But you know what I mean, though, where it has to be done correctly and not in the, oh no, busty blonde red turned out to be split in half, and she was a lesbian the whole time. And it's like, oh, we're just gonna whip that out there. And, like, intent.
Basically, what
Yeah.
you're
What
saying,
is your intent?
it's like where movies
Yeah,
are
I
like,
agree.
have any of you seen the Netflix movie Nimona? I know that we recommended it to you, Jose. Did you watch it? Okay. I think they did that very well. It was a guy who was gay that wants he's gay. Then there's the story. What I can't say is just like, here's a story. Here's this gay character. He's always gay. Every scene he's gonna be in, he's gay. It's like, that was the 90s. Please stop. Please stop doing this trope. It's really annoying.
Right. Well, like trying to get away from that, just the gay side of things, but even like, having more characters of color, and stuff like that. Like, if heaven forbid you put a character of color as like the leader of a team, not including Storm, because everyone loves her, and if you don't, you're wrong. But like, go ahead.
Like House of Dragons, how they made the Valerian, and granted I haven't read the books, but from what I've been told, the Valerian characters are like in the books they're all white, and in the TV show they made the Valerian characters all black. And for the first season, I didn't hear as much outcry for the second season, but for the first season, a lot of people were like, "How dare they?" Blah blah blah. It's like, it's kind of cool though, like in my
Oh,
opinion.
oh,
What?
I
Let
I
me.
I got an answer.
Okay.
Okay. So, when it comes to characters that are like already like formed and whatever, blah blah blah, if they have an established overall canonical thing, like Batman, he's an orphan, his parents got shot, oh no, tragedy, you're a rich boy that's an orphan, fuck you. Um, you don't need to have it happen over and over and over again. But I don't think changing the race of a character that they're like known for looking a specific way is good. I think more characters who we can learn about and have new versions of form would be better. Like, I don't know, I guess it also kind of falls into that whole universe aspect thing of, well, like for Marvel, like the Spider-Men in the multiverse and how many different kinds, like that's one thing, but they all had different backstories. Like, I'm
Yeah.
Spider-Man Hiruki with it. I can say it because I'm Japanese. You know, she's got a mech robot and she's a high schooler, but she's Spider-Man. And all the other ones, like, that's fine. But to have a canonical version from one universe all of a sudden be just a different race, but everything else is the same, like nothing else changes with their story. It's just all of a sudden they're Chinese. It's like, okay, so you did this with no thought behind it at all. Like, you know, make it original, add more to it, because there's more to changing someone's race than just changing the color that you use to paint them. You know, you have to take into the cultural aspect of it. And if you're not doing that, then you're just being quote woke.
Right.
In my
Hey, well,
opinion. I can't hear you. You're muted to
Oh,
me.
your mic just went. It said you started talking and then bleh. It was sad.
No.
No.
You gotta come back because you were saying something important. No. I was rambling, but you guys get what I mean?
Yes.
No.
It's not like you can change like shoes or like shirts. It's
Yeah.
Trigon,
It's
different
more
type of
than
character. It's
that.
how
Is it
they're-
Trigon?
Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yay!
There you are. Hello.
Just- It's this mic. I'm gonna have to get a new one. These are actually the same ones, but I have to rebuy them because the last ones I could barely hear you guys last episode. Now I gotta replace this stupid thing. But what I was gonna say, kind of touching off of what Al is going with there. I had a friend who had a YouTube channel, and we had a representation in comic books episode, and I mentioned how I don't like it when, just for the sake of representation, they change a character or they introduce a character. Like, for example, they made a female Thor, right? And then they had Captain America, the Falcon become Captain America. So now we have a black Captain America. I don't like it when we have a white character. And this is gonna be like, I'm gonna have two things to say, and then we can get kind of this running a little bit long. I don't like it when they take a white character that was established and is very popular, like Captain America, Superman and whatever, and then you create a version of that character that is gay or black or Latino, Asian or whatever, or a woman. I feel like these cultures have enough history and stories and stuff behind that you can take from to like create a character who is of that culture. We don't need to make a white character into a different race or whatever, so that way hopefully the white person's popularity will rub off on that character. Like, that's insulting. Like, don't use white Captain America's popularity to try to make Black Captain America a cool thing. No, create a whole new character that is Black, that is Latino, that is gay, that is a woman, and give them their own story. Because otherwise, it just seems like you're like cheap pandering, and you don't believe that we can stand on our own.
A really
Now,
good example. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
A really good example of that is Miles Morales, who is
Mhm.
Spider-Man in like technically in a different and like in the comic books Spider-Man. That's what I'm talking about before they came out with which the movies are great too. Don't get me wrong, but even in the comic books, he is a young Afro Latino man, and that is what he is,
Mhm.
and it's still in New York, and he's still
Yeah.
Spider-Man, but because of this new identity. It changes his story a little bit. It at its core is still the Spider-Man story, which is why
Yeah.
he's still Spider-Man, but it's a different version of it. It's a different
Right.
character, and it's really, really well done.
It's like
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I
And it is.
meant.
I want to touch like on this. Like I hate Rings of Power with the burning passion, but I think that Balin's
You'll
wife,
find it.
Balin's
There
wife,
you go.
who was played by an African American woman, did the best job out of all the dwarves. And you're like, oh my god, you can't have a black dwarf. It's like, why? That's perfectly fine. It's like, what made me mad was when Magic the Gathering is like, Aragorn black, Theoden black. It's like that. No, stop, sweetie, please.
And the final thing I want to say before we go is like there are times where Marvel will make some decisions that you're kind of like, eh. The character Psylocke, she's a member of the X-Men. She's a telepath, a ninja trained telepath. But originally she was not. She was just a telepath that couldn't really fight physically, and so she had to wear like armor because she was physically not, a fighter. And she was a Caucasian woman from Britain. In fact, her brother is Captain Britain. And what happened is that the X-Men walked through this portal, this Siege Perilous, that is supposed to, when you walk through it, you're supposed to get reborn into a new life or whatever. And what happened with her is that she ended up getting mind swapped with a Japanese assassin. And so Elizabeth Braddock, that's her name, Psylocke, was in, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, Quinone, and Quinone's body, the Asian assassin, and whatever. And so then Quinone got killed while in her original body. So she was shown as Asian with a blue bathing suit costume, psychic knife, ninja fighter for years now. I think the late 80s to like more recently. And they just recently resurrected that the original, and they switched their bodies back. So now Elizabeth is back in her Caucasian body, and she is now Captain Britain. And Quinone is back in her Asian body, and she is known as Psylocke now. The problem is that a lot of fans miss Elizabeth being the ninja assassin with a Japanese body, and they want them to reverse that. So Marvel did this fucked up thing in the X-Men comics with, making the Caucasian woman Japanese and whatever, and at least with her body. And now they kind of fixed it by giving the Japanese woman back her body and letting her actually be a character. But now some fans want them to reverse that and make Elizabeth go back in the Asian body. And I'm like, well, then that's not really representation, because yes, she's in an Asian body, but she herself is not Asian. And they're still messing up because they're basically making Psylocke, who's the actual Japanese woman, like they're writing her as if she was Elizabeth, but she isn't Elizabeth. And they're giving her abilities that she didn't really have, that it was Elizabeth who had them. So it's a big confusing mess with the whole mind swap thing, but I feel like that's almost like bordering on cultural appropriation by saying that you want this woman to be in the Asian body when she's not herself Asian. I don't. So I mean, sometimes you do things that are good and it's good representation, and sometimes you do things like that clusterfuck that you try to fix because you want to make things right, but then you do it in a way that is kind of cringe,
That
you know.
almost
And
sounds like fetishization.
I mean, fans who want her Asian again because she used to wear that bathing suit and stuff. Yes, I would say that is 100% like the motivation behind that. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about the X-Men for now, because we are going a little bit long. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it, and yeah, and we're gonna say goodnight now.
Good night.
Bye.
Hola.
Cheers.
Bye.